Welcome to The Prenup, the Wedding Obsessed podcast designed to help you plan your dream day. I'm your host, Adriana, and each week I'm joined by the industry's top professionals, celebs, influencers, and friends who are sharing their best tips, advice, and mistakes they've made so you don't have to. The Prenup is a Love Stories TV podcast. Wedding planning can sometimes feel untamed, erratic, stressful, and confusing as hell. If you're in the thick, you may feel like someone is speaking a foreign language and you're really struggling to keep up with the conversation, which is why I am thrilled to present today's guest, the wedding whisperer herself, Ms. Danielle Elder of Classic Events NYC, to the Prenup podcast. Welcome, Danielle.
Oh, thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
I'm very excited that you're here. You and I hit it off at Bridal Fashion Week. You were such a sweetheart, and you have such great energy, and you do such beautiful weddings.
Thank you.
My pleasure. So I want to start kind of from jump. How did you get into the industry?
Oh, it's a great question, and one I get a lot, actually. I graduated from college, and I thought I wanted to be a publisher.
Oh.
So I landed my dream job at Random House.
Okay.
And a year in, I realized in the promotions department that I really enjoyed the event work. We did high-level launches for celebrities and authors, and I just fell in love with that part of the business, and I realized I didn't want to read manuscripts.
Yeah.
I wanted to plan parties.
Yeah, absolutely. It's, I'm sure it's a wonderful career, but, this seems like where you really thrive because you have such a beautiful aesthetic and style and niche. You are kind of known for the quiet luxury aesthetic, even before that was a term that was so commonplace. How did that aesthetic come into your sphere? How did you find your niche in that?
My dad was a cinematographer. He had gone to NYU and gotten his MFA at Tisch.
Okay.
And he did that a little later in life. He had gone to college and kind of not known what he wanted to do. And he took me around the NYU campus as a grad student, and he immersed me in the arts and culture. So we went to Broadway plays as a city kid and art museums, the Frick, the American Museum of Natural History, the Met. And so I think I was exposed as a young child to that gorgeousness of what elegance and luxury has to offer.
Yes.
Just culture in general. So it's part of my being.
Oh my gosh. So I always think, Broadway productions, I always kind of equate them to weddings in certain ways just because, of the moving parts and all of especially with the types of events that you do. Such gorgeous work.
Thank you.
Yeah, a lot of theatrics involved. But yeah, the arts in general, it's such a driving force for inspiration. There's plenty of places we draw inspo from, as wedding planners. I'm sure everyone knows quiet luxury, but how would you describe quiet luxury to someone who didn't know what that was?
Well, it's really about elegance and the right kind of high level touches in the areas. It's not about exclusivity or anything like that. It's just about quality of materials and quality of experience.
Yeah.
And doing it in an understated way. A lot of our clients want things that are beautiful and sophisticated, but they don't want things to smack of anything. And so you have to be very, very delicate and very purposeful with what you put in front of your guests as an experience. And that's really what quiet luxury, it's like everything's finer, but they just didn't even realize it until they smelled it or tasted it or felt it or heard it.
Yeah, it's not so much about the glam and the glitz. It's more of, like you said, the feeling. And I want to get into today some of that and really go in deep because I think you could give insight to so many brides, whether quiet luxury is your aesthetic or not. Like we say all the time, not everything has to be for everyone. But if you feel like quiet luxury is your aesthetic, I think, Danielle, you're the perfect person to give some advice to people.
Thank you.
So I want to start with home decor, oddly enough, because I think that a person's house says a lot about what their wedding style could potentially be. So in terms of quiet luxury, how would you describe maybe, a living room or a bedroom of a home?
It's funny you asked that because ever since a post-COVID world, we have a bird's eye view into our clients' homes because a lot of times we're on Zoom or Google Meet, right? And I'm like, God, is that a piece of art in your background? Because I love that.
Yeah.
We just started a job for 2 clients and I saw the gentleman's staircase and it was this neutral and they're having a wedding on Fire Island, which has like a beach vibe and a feel. And I said, how about using that like wood, birch feel, sandy tone? And he was like, yes. And so it was interesting. Recently, as last week, I used home decor to inspire a vision for their event for a summer wedding on an island, which is kind of like a de facto destination for them, even though they're local. So a lot of our clients have that, the neutrals, the tans, the woods, the sands, classic colors that you would affiliate with quiet luxury, navies and whites and clean. Nothing that's overdone. Again, it's that nothing that smacks of like something that's trying too hard. It's just understated and beautiful in its own way.
Yeah, that's interesting that you said about the photo on the home because I think sometimes people can't pinpoint their own style. They just like what they like. And a lot of times couples will look for wedding inspiration from other weddings. But we were talking about this morning. You can really draw a lot of inspiration for your wedding from your own style, your own home. It doesn't have to be a carbon copy of someone else's wedding.
No, not at all. It's like, what do you gravitate towards when you go to a home goods store or when you go to a clothing store? What makes you feel powerful and beautiful and sexy?
Yes.
Those are the things you buy for your house, and those are the things that should show up on the biggest party you're ever going to throw. Your wedding day.
Totally. A big part of just producing an epic event as well is really stimulating the senses also. So I wanted to go through the senses with you today. And a lot of people will focus on the aesthetics, how things look, but there's so much more that goes into it, including logistics, which is a whole other bird, but it's not just sight. But that is where I want to start because I think that's where a lot of people's heads will go first.
Yes.
So when we're walking into a quiet luxury event, what are some things we want to see? What do we want to be inundated with in terms of sight?
Well, for us, it's, we get hired for full planning a lot of the times. Sometimes clients will say, I have a home, I have a backyard, help me build it out.
Yeah.
But a lot of people come to us saying, this is what I think I want, but we'd like to open our eyes to everything that's a possibility. So we try our best to show them venues that we think would hit the mark. And the first thing I say is, this is your home for the day. So akin to apartment or home shopping for rental or buy, you want something that speaks to you.
Yeah.
So what does the light look like at different times of the day, at different times of the year? What is the ceiling height? What are the natural aesthetics? Is it an old world venue like the Frick Museum, which I'm so excited is going to open again soon this year because we loved working there, closed for renovation. Which obviously has like beautiful paintings on the wall. So you have to lean into that. Or is it a clean and modern space like, say, the Mandarin Oriental Hotel ballroom on, the top floor of that hotel, which you can, work towards creating your own vision within. So you really have to see what's there and what exists within the space. That's the first thing you should look for.
Question for you. Are there certain venues that are or are not indicative of quiet luxury? Would you say any space can become quiet luxury with the right accoutrements? Or would you say there are certain spaces like that's more designated for?
I think that's a loaded question.
Yeah, for sure.
Because I love all our venue partners.
Of course. And not to say that
and you
if
can
they're
do
not
anything.
Quiet luxury, that they're not a fabulous venue, but there's a certain very specific aesthetic that I think works well.
I'll answer it this way.
Okay.
I think the only thing that doesn't make it quiet luxury is if it doesn't have an identity of its own.
Okay.
I think what quiet luxury really is you're leaning to something that exists there that you fall in love with.
Yeah.
Akin to a piece of art. It could be a piece of modern art. It could be a painting, a piece of sculpture.
Yeah.
Whatever is your aesthetic, it has to be there. If it's something that's completely a blank space that we have to completely transform, I say that that's a little bit less less of that because you can, you don't have a starting point.
Sure. Yeah. And again, it's not that a blank space and a blank canvas isn't wonderful and you can make many different styles of events there, but specific to the quiet luxury, I think I like that answer.
Okay. We can make it work anywhere.
If anyone can make it work anywhere, it's going to be you. That's for sure. So I want to ask about guests because we are not only experiencing things, but they're a fixture of the day. They're part of the whole design as far as I'm concerned. Every person, every piece, it's all part of the design elements. Do you find that guest attire have a place or doesn't really matter in terms of the whole design of the event?
I have to say, this is an excellent question because I am a stickler for attire. Yeah. And, clients always ask, should I put, a required attire on my invitation suite? And I say, absolutely. Yeah. If you want it to be summer chic, you should tell people that. If you want it to be black tie, you should tell people that. First of all, I think people appreciate the guidance. Mm-hmm. Secondarily, I think when you look through your photos at the end and you see everyone dressed up because you're dressed up, if that's what you want and that's your vision, it's okay to share that with your friends. If it's, length gowns, then that's what women should wear. It's suits and jackets, that's what gentlemen should wear. We actually have quite a few number of clients this year that are putting palette suggestions within their wedding suite. That seems to be on trend.
I love that.
And I had to take a little time to get around to that because I didn't want it to say that we were dictating anything. But if we're having a destination wedding, we're doing something in the North Fork of Long Island. It's a weekend long, and there are multiple events. There's actually 4 of them. Yeah. And we want to guide people on what they can wear. I think they've actually found it helpful.
I think so, too. I think people are hesitant because they don't want to put their guests out. I hear that, they're already doing this or that, and we don't want to give them one more thing to do. But I think giving them that piece of guidance, especially with a palette, it's not to say you have to wear periwinkle and only that, and, it has to be. No, there are constraints, but they can be loose and, you can give suggestions. And I agree. I think people appreciate it. And I think about all the time, themed parties. People invite people to themed parties all the time. So why is it so wrong to do it when you put wedding in front of it?
Listen, they're always going to be welcome, but you're just giving them some guidance.
Just some guidance.
And if it makes you happy as a client, it makes us happy at Classic Events.
Oh, absolutely love it. So what about guest count? So a lot of times people will say, I want a small, intimate, classic wedding. Do you think it's possible to achieve the quiet luxury aesthetic at a very small guest count, a very large guest count? Sometimes people feel like a small, intimate wedding is best for, a quiet luxury aesthetic.
Yeah, I get that question all the time as well. I think smaller weddings are easier to do if you want more touch points, but we can absolutely have that large guest count wedding and have all of the elements of quiet luxury included.
Wonderful. Wonderful. All right. So give us some examples. And I know it's so broad, but, on a high level, like what is some example of a quiet luxury aesthetic in terms of decor? What do we want to say? We obviously create mood boards for clients at the start of every endeavor. And so we ask them, what do you want to see? What are your favorite colors? What are your favorite textiles? What do you want to touch, feel, see, right? And so it really is a jumping off point from there. So a recent wedding we did at the Rainbow Room, she just told us, I want to walk in and I want it to look different than every other Rainbow Room wedding I've seen. Oh. So what we did were bold yellows, Ooh. All yellows. So that really informed the entire palette. So we did golds, whites, yellows, and it was in November and it was stunning. So that was something that we just used as a jumping off point. One inspiration sentence from her that was that quiet luxury brand. And it really did look very different from everything else that we had done before at the Rainbow
Rainbow Room, and we were so proud of that. Another one was at a venue called CBI, Chatham Barnes Inn in Chatham, Massachusetts, also a destination summer wedding. And she really wanted that sort of like nautical Cape Cod. And so her quiet luxury touches were tufted sofas and lots of monogrammed pillows and greens like the ocean and blues like the ocean and sandy materials. So it's really about the venue. I go back to the venue. Don't fight your venue.
Oh, that's one of my favorite quotes of yours. You said, don't fight your venue. And I thought about it for so long. I was like, wow, that is so great. And you just hit it perfectly. Like, go with what you have. And that's not to say that you have to be cookie cutter, because you mentioned Rainbow Room, which is such a quintessential,
Stunning.
iconic New York venue. And just adding those pops of yellow and gold, you can create an entirely different environment within your venue, but still keep this really gorgeous classic type of feel.
Yeah, and never been done before. And I'm sure it's been done before, and say I absolutely reinvented the wheel. But it felt fresh and almost spring-like in November, which is what the client wanted. So it was perfect for them.
Oh my gosh, that's wonderful. Okay, so let's go next. Let's go to our next sense, which is going to be hearing. So when we go into a wedding, there's a lot of different sounds that we're going to be hearing. But I want to start with the music. Is there a certain type of music that we want to stick to within either ceremony, reception, whatever?
I think it's my upbringing again, you know, being the daughter of an artist. If I can give funds to classical musicians, modern musicians, live musicians, I'm always going to be an advocate for that. Yeah. I love a good DJ. We incorporate that into our parties all the time. We just did a recent wedding where we had an amazing DJ and live musicians, you know, working in tandem with each other was so cool and so sexy.
Oh my gosh, I love it.
But for music, for me, I just feel like live musicians, whether they're playing modern or classical, is just hits in the right way when people walk into a space. And I feel like we're supporting the arts. I pull from Juilliard a lot. We call them to get grad students, to give them work.
Oh, that's wonderful.
And I just feel like supporting the arts in that department. And it's just about the sound that live music really brings to the table.
Yeah, it's really important too. And I think it's a good way, whether it's, you know, music that's your passion or whatever kind of art, if you can both support the arts and, you know, people in that environment and put on this beautiful event, what a wonderful thing to do, you know?
Absolutely.
It feeds each other.
And I think people don't have the occasion to listen to live music as much as they'd like to.
Yeah.
And it's really special.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Give me a good horn section.
Yeah.
I'm
sax.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, you think like,
Jazz.
oh, you know, a wedding band, it's so foo-foo. But it's like, no, we can still get down and party. But,
Absolutely.
you know, just...
There's a magic there that you can't recreate. And
It's so
again,
true.
you can pair with DJ. There's a place for both. I just think during the course of the evening, there should be some live music if you can.
I 100% agree with you. Another thing that we're going to hear at weddings are speeches and toasts. Now, what is your etiquette on those, or any advice or tips surrounding, you know, speeches and toasts at weddings?
It's interesting, again, that you asked. I've been trying to advise clients to do more of that the night before.
Oh, love that.
Yeah, a lot of people either have a larger scale welcome or, you know, rehearsal dinner, or a smaller, intimate one. And that's a good place for those personal stories and, you know, walks down memory lanes with the smaller group.
Yes.
It does sometimes get a little hairy on the night of when alcohol is involved.
Of course, yes, as most
and the
things
speeches,
do.
you know, are promised to the planning team and everyone else that there'll be 3 to 5 minutes and they can go rogue. So we just, you know, obviously we try to control the situation. Usually they're all very good-hearted, but, you know, there's a time and place for certain stories, and there's a time and place for a quick nod to the couple, the families, and that's really what the day of event speeches should be.
I'm so glad you said that, because I wholeheartedly agree. I think if you're exceeding 5 minutes, it's, and I don't want to offend anyone, but it's almost disrespectful to the couple. We've spent so much time, energy, money what have you on this event that doesn't last very long, and to take up such a chunk of time, it's, of course you want to tell those stories and you want to bond and create community. But I think a toast, even if you are going to do it night of,
brief.
Keep it a toast. Yeah, a brief. It doesn't have to be a speech. And a lot of people don't understand that. They get up and they want to be a comedian. I have bombed a speech before, so this is not a knock to anyone. At my best friend's wedding, I totally bombed. And
I'd like to see that, actually.
Yeah, I'll send you the video. It's, it's a punch to the gut, but it is what it is. It happens. But by the grace of God, it was short, it was it was not this thing that went on and on and on all night. So even if it is bad, you cut yourself short, people forget about it. But
it's I'm sure you did fine. It's just a thing that as a planning team, we have a lot to execute on the evening of too. So it's also just we're trying to stay on schedule, and we have a run of shows. So
yes,
we'd love to have you, but just keep it brief.
Absolutely. And another alternative, if you really feel like you have a lot to say, or write the couple a letter. I feel like that would be such a nice thing to receive from a friend, especially one who maybe wasn't planning on doing a speech or toast. Okay, so let's go next to taste. When we're at a wedding, there's a lot of different options for food and drink. When it comes to a quiet luxury aesthetic, what do we want to be eating, drinking, and importantly, what do we not want to be eating and drinking?
I love food. So I grew up in New York at every cuisine, as I said.
Did you grow up in the city?
I grew up in Manhattan.
Okay.
So I grew up with every cuisine at my, beck and call late night. And,
Sure.
I'm a total foodie. So that's on me. So the food portion of our events is always huge. And we really lean into it. To say, in particular to the quiet luxury, obviously the hard to find items, whether that's a bespoke alcohol or cocktail or, a vintage of wine that you guys, we had a client that she always went to a particular vineyard in California with her family. And so we flew in a bunch of cases of that particular vineyards.
Special.
Yes, and it meant a lot to them. And it was served, and to control costs, we had it just for cocktail hour, right? Mm-hmm. And then, we went to the caterer's wine, to keep everything in perspective. But it had that quiet luxury nod. And that's exactly what I was talking about earlier. You can have these moments. You don't have to have them the whole time, but it's something that people will notice if you put intention into it. We just recently did caviar bumps. Obnoxious, I know, but so good if you're into that. Obnoxious, I know. We have the great company, XO Oysters, that brings shuckers around, roving shuckers. I'm sure you've heard of them.
Sure.
And, if you're into that, people just fall over for that kind of experience. Again, you need it for 45 minutes. You don't need it for an hour and 45 minutes, right? So it's those touch points done well, done purposefully, that really make an impact with food.
And it's not just, oh, this is delicious, it tastes good. It's also a talking point. I loved, of course, the oysters and all that, but having that wine in and having the sentimental value of it, that gets people going and a sense of community. And that's what you want at a wedding. And, food and drink, of course, is going to create that as well. But
it's personalized.
Yes.
and it's sentimental. And, there are a lot of moments. These aren't corporate events. These aren't nonprofit galas. These are weddings. You don't have the opportunity to do a do-over. So if you would like to taste that wine that you grew up with and it meant something to you and your family and you shared it over Sunday dinner, let's get a few cases. Let's have it. Let's share that with everyone else in the room.
Yeah, that's beautiful. It's so special, as you said. How about with bar selection? There's a lot of question around it because I believe in an open bar. I think it is.
We should have cocktails here.
We should have. You know what I was actually thinking? I was planning on doing, but because I was like, this is my first time in studio, and I was like, let me just make sure I have everything. I'll have to have you back to do this. But I was like, I would love to do a signature drink with each of my friends, and I was thinking about yours, and I was like, a Classic Events elderberry martini
love
for
it.
Danielle.
Love
you
it.
know, like the next
I'll
time
come
you
back
come
for that one.
I will make you up a cocktail and we'll continue this conversation.
Challenge accepted.
I love it. So, you know, in that note, bar, open bar, yes, like definitely an essential. But is there a line? Do we cut bar off at a certain time? How do we make sure people are also behaving in a way that is going to be in line with this sort of event that we're throwing?
Yeah, it's a good question too. And I have a policy where it's you never shut the bar.
Okay.
You know, there are ways to control it, but you never want a guest to go up, even for a seltzer or a glass of wine, and have them turned away.
Yeah.
So it keeps open the whole time. You can scale back things to keep the alcohol consumption. You know, there are some venues that don't allow shots. You know, that can be something that kind of muddies the water again, to use that term. Sure. But what we do at Classic is we recommend no alcohol before ceremony, no pre-hospitality. When people are arriving at 5 or 4:30 in the afternoon and they start hitting the bar hard, they're not lasting till midnight. So you can control it as a planning team, as a catering team, to offer that once there's a little food involved, which is always a better idea for consumption of alcohol.
Soak it up a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
I throw some carbs in.
it's certainly helpful.
But never shut the bar.
Never shut the bar. Yeah, definitely. Okay, I love that advice. All right, now I want to get to one of my favorites, which is smell. So how important, if at all, do you find smell to be at an event?
I actually think it's really important.
Yeah.
You know, when you walk into your favorite spa or restaurant or hotel lobby or one that's not even your favorite but quickly becomes your favorite, there's actually a signature scent to any of those places, right? Maybe it's an Italian restaurant where you just smell, you know, the food cooking, or maybe it's that spa where it's a calming scent. We've actually started incorporating scent. We have some companies. There's a company called Bellefleur Florals that has scent speakers, and they will pair a signature scent that gets permeated throughout the lobby of the venue space as guests walk in, and it is guests don't even know it. That's the essence of quiet luxury, I think. They don't even know what's hitting them, but they love it.
Yes. Oh my gosh. A scent speaker. People note that down. Yeah, it really does create such an environment when you walk into, like you said, like a hotel lobby. That's the beginning. I think an important thing for weddings and any event, it's when you first walk in, how are you feeling? Like, what is your initial reaction? And smell is a great way to do that because it's so connected to memory, and people are going to enjoy their evening and they're going to, smell something that reminds them of that, and it'll bring them back.
It does. And it's the perfect little nod when they first walk in where things are neutral before the kitchen starts cooking and all the florals are set and the candles are burning. So it's a new thing that we've been bringing into our events.
Oh, I love it. Other than scent speakers, are there any other ways that your team implements smell into events?
We just try to smell really good.
You do. You walked in here and I was like, so fresh.
It's Chanel. It's just classic.
It's
Again,
gorgeous.
my aesthetic, and I wear it and people know me for it and I will never change it. It's just like.
It smells really good on you. I think
you.
That's important too. Like different scents smell different on different people in different places too. So it's not, if you chose something that maybe was elsewhere, it's still going to have a different vibe and at another venue,
Agreed.
So in terms of feeling, that's going to be our next sense that we get to.
Okay.
There's a few different ways that we can feel at an event, but I'm going to start with the physical. So how can we make sure that people are feeling physically comfortable, well, etc.?
Yeah, I mean, we work really hard on this at Classic Events. I mean, air conditioning is very important.
Yes.
Flooring is very important. When people want to have a backyard party at their family's home or a rented home, things like that are what we need to focus on. What's the temperature going to be like? Obviously, weather is important, especially these days, right? You don't know. You have to anticipate for that. Mm-hmm. So that's something we always discuss. In terms of textiles, you might love that beautiful chair, but is it comfortable? We lay out 5 chairs for our clients. We sit on all of them. That stuff is important when you're sitting at a dinner for 2-3 hours.
Oh, yeah.
The feel of the linens, we get samples, we touch them, that whether it's velvet linens in the wintertime or something beautiful that you run your fingers across in the summertime, the textiles and the feelings of that kind of stuff is all stuff we pour into when we're making decisions about texture and feel for our events.
Absolutely. And you mentioned weather, so I just have to touch on it. Inclement weather could happen at any time. Like, we can never truly prepare for the weather, especially when we're booking our weddings, a year and a half plus out. Do you thrive on, that curveball, or do you say, let's just plan A and plan B as evens? Like, we're as ready for plan B as we are for plan A.
Yeah, and I think any planner would say the same thing, especially lately, where weather can change within a moment's notice. But it was always the case, especially, as you get towards the end of the summer and things can get a little bit more moist.
Sure.
And hurricane season comes into play,
Of course.
Anywhere around the country.
Yeah.
I always tell our clients, you have to love your rain plan as much as you love your sunshine plan. And we always have on our timelines, if then, right? So we're ready to move at a moment's notice.
Love it. Love it. So we covered the physical. Now I want to get to the emotional feeling. So how do we elicit that feeling?
Yes, I cry every Saturday.
Do you cry?
I really shouldn't.
What's the part of the wedding that really just grabed your heart? Is it different every time?
I should not disclose that I cry every Saturday.
No, it's sweet. It shows how invested and, close you are.
You think
with
I'd
your
get used to it after 15 years?
No, you never do. It's so beautiful.
We are so invested in our clients' days, and, they become family to us, and, we care about them. And,
Yes.
Once we get them down that aisle or ceremony starts, it's that rush for us too, that, we compartmentalize the day into like 3 parts, like that, ceremony and then dinner and then, at the end of the night. So it's just so, it's so monumental that we can't help but feel emotional. So that's, it's really that moment when we get them down the aisle that matters to us.
Yeah. Oh, it's so beautiful. It really is. And, just for creating that experience for guests, you want them to feel as much as anyone is. You want them to be a part of the wedding. Are there certain elements of a wedding that you feel like can really drive that home, can make people feel super joyous or, very romantic or whatever that feeling is that you're trying to elicit?
I think all of that stuff is really before the day. We've worked tirelessly to make sure lighting is right and smell is right and textures are right and temperatures are right and the details. I would say on the day of, we just as a team, it's about comfort. If a client's guest and the party in general are comfortable and feel well taken care of, then we've done our job.
Yes.
Then everything else will fall into play that we've planned for. Just if they need adjustment, we do it. If temperature needs to go up or go down, as long as they're comfortable and well taken care of, we're good to go.
I love it. Okay, beautiful. So we covered our senses now. So I want to just ask you some personal things. You are this fabulous event planner, and you're also a mother of 2. You're running this team. And I think this is good advice for anyone planning a wedding, because it can be really overwhelming, especially for those without a planner. But juggling all of that, how do you manage, and how do you keep organized and focused?
Well, I am the mom of 2. I have a lovely daughter and son and a great husband. So I do sometimes balance the challenges of running a firm and trying to be there for them. And, I do every once in a while want to make a meal at the end of the night.
If it's not too much to ask.
Success. I did Yeah, I mean, the thing is, I try to treat my team the way I wanted to be treated when I was working at Random House. I had an amazing female mentor who showed me the ropes, but was also kind and generous. If my team needs something for a personal, as long as they give me some notice, I try to be as understanding as a mom.
Yeah.
Even if they don't have their own family, everyone has a life, right? It's not just about having a family or children. Everyone has a life. Everyone has responsibilities. So I try to be really supportive. But we meet every day. We go over every client. We have a running agenda for every client under our purview. We have Google Docs, shared drives. The technology is really helpful. It keeps us honest and on point.
Yes.
And at Classic, we also tell our clients if they're going to sign up with us, they have to commit to scheduled meetings with us. We can be flexible. Some of our clients are doctors and in hospitals or flying around the world. So we are sensitive to their schedules as well, but it keeps them honest and it keeps us honest if we have our weekly calls and we go through their particular job and things get done in that way. So that's how I keep organized.
That's just keeping regimented. I think, keeping to a schedule, it really is so important for anyone planning a wedding at any point. I love that advice that you gave because there's so many things that get in the way in life and so many turns we can take. But if you take too many, you'll really stray from what the focus is. And then things start to unravel. And that's where the stress really permeates, I think.
Yeah. And when clients sign on with us, we say to them, listen, we can't alleviate all stress, but, we try to absorb as much of it as we can.
Yeah.
And we're really here to keep you focused, provide a sounding board for decisions, be a tiebreaker among the family. That's very important. I tell a lot of clients, tell your family, ask the planner, and, we'll weigh in happily. But we try to minimize that level of stress because, oftentimes people are working full time and they have a lot of demands. They're not sitting around with ample time to plan their weddings. Why they bring on a team of professionals, and we want to provide that as a service and really prove our worth to them.
And you really do. I mean, I'll give this opportunity at the end to really plug everything, but your work is it's a testament to your work, really.
Thank you.
You do such a phenomenal job.
I appreciate that.
It's such an honor to have you here. So
same.
So today, Danielle, I want to do a little something with you. We do it every episode.
Okay.
It's a segment called Premarital Counseling.
Okay.
And our listeners write in. They have questions and queries and concerns, and we just try to help them kind of navigate it. And if you would be so kind today, I would love your assistance with our listener. Yeah, we're gonna change her name to Cindy. We keep everything anonymous here. So hello, Cindy.
Hi, Sydney. How are you?
All right. Cindy says, in need of advice. My parents are so generously paying for my September 2025 wedding, but we are majorly disagreeing on many style choices. I would love an elegant event with our closest family and friends, a curated menu, beautiful backdrops, and I'm finding my parents are more interested in a banquet hall setting, all-you-can-eat food, everyone they've ever met. I don't want to insult my parents, but their vision is not my style, and I'm feeling discouraged about the whole thing. How can I explain it to them so that we can somehow meet in the middle? Sydney, that's hard. It's hard.
It is hard. It's hard because, especially when there's a financial contribution coming from parents or someone else, it's almost like they have a say, right? And how can you turn that say down?
Right.
What we advise clients, because we get this question a lot, like, quote unquote, my mom wants this, or quote unquote, my dad wants this, or quote unquote, my partner wants this.
Right.
It's about meeting in the middle.
Okay.
Everyone has to concede to some yeses. Maybe there is a banquet style with not a banquet setting.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they do get to add a 20 people that they want to have there that you may necessarily not have put on your list, but means something to them. There has to be a middle ground. You have to give people yeses for them to take the no's. My husband always taught me this phrase, it's a compliment sandwich. You start with you look great, and then you say, well, you could do this one better, and then you end with, but I really enjoy working with you, So it's a compliment sandwich. So I would tell her to speak to her parents, try the compliment sandwich, and see how it goes.
Yeah, try the compliment sandwich. And, people really do. They just want to feel like they're a part. Yes, that's all. Like, this is a community event because parents, I find especially, they're so well-intended. They just want this to be beautiful, and they're proud, and they feel like this is as much their event as it is yours, and not in a way that they're trying to overshadow for the most part. I mean, there's some crazy people out there, let's be honest, but for the most part, people have pure loving intentions, and they want it to be wonderful. So I think if you can really communicate it to them, like you said, with a compliment sandwich, make some concessions, like find out what's really, really important to you and present that to your parents. Say, these are the 5 things that mean the world to me. What are the 5 things that mean the world to you? And let's marry those 2.
Perfect.
Yeah, love it. All right, Cindy, we wish you the best of luck.
Good luck.
Thank you for writing in. So Danielle, before I let you go today, we are also going to finish with an after party, which is something that we do. They're just fun questions, no pressure. They don't have to be personal.
All right.
But we are going to start with question number 1, which is, what is your top honeymoon recommendation for any couple planning a wedding?
Ooh, that's hard. Anywhere, anytime you can get away, it's always amazing. There's so many beautiful places on the planet.
Yes.
I'll just stick to where I went, which is the south of France. We went to a little town in France called Eze, which is a hilltop town. And then we went to Monaco, Monte Carlo. It's just gorgeous. The casino, it's just fun. I felt like I was in a James Bond movie. Yeah. I got all dressed up. And it's quintessentially beautiful there. And the weather is temperate and beautiful. And so I think it's a great place to see if you have the opportunity.
It's a great recommendation. It's one that not a lot of people give. So I think people will appreciate that.
Cool.
All right, Danielle, what is your dream wedding cake flavor?
I ate so much wedding cake.
What's been the
best? It's a professional hazard.
It's fabulous.
Every weekend, I swear I won't. But it's so good. We work with the most amazing wedding cake designers and bakers, and you guys are so talented and make it so hard. Thank you. I'm a strawberry shortcake girl, so anything with fruit and cream, yeah, count me in.
Forget it. Oh my gosh. Yeah, it sounds so good. Okay, what about, we're going to go music. What song is going to get you on the dance floor at a wedding?
I think I'm old school. I mean, I love everything that's on, the radio now and Spotify, but I would say like A Lovely Day by Bill Withers.
Oh, it's such a great song.
I know. And because of TikTok, like all the old songs are back in, like Fleetwood Mac, like resurgence.
Yeah, ABBA, the kids are listening to ABBA now. It's a beautiful thing. We love to see it.
Yeah, so I'm a classic girl at heart, obviously. Yes. So good Bill Withers. I mean, that guy was a musical genius.
What a gorgeous song, Inside Out. It's also a really great father-daughter dance song. Yeah. I love that.
All the things.
Yes, all the things. Beautiful. Okay, and then last question I have for you, Danielle. What is one piece of practical advice that you could give to any couple planning a wedding?
I think I said this before. Don't fight your venue. Find your home for the day. Make it speak to you. It's really the best and biggest party you're ever going to throw. So that coupled with communication, talk to your caterer, talk to your venue manager, talk to your planning team, tell them what you want. Pair that with your home and you're going to have a great day.
Oh, wonderful. It's really, really great advice. Danielle, thank you so much for being here.
I loved it.
I loved it. You were phenomenal. Where can everyone find you and Classic Events?
So our Instagram is Classic Events NYC. Our website is same, Classic Events NYC. Find us. We'd love to help you. We love what we do, and I think it shows. And
it certainly
congratulations to everyone out there that's thinking about getting married.
Yay. Oh, well, thank you, Danielle. This was great.
Thank you.
Thanks for tuning into The Prenup. Don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform or on the Love Stories TV YouTube channel. Follow at @the_pre_nup and at Love Stories TV on Instagram for more. Have feedback or suggestions for the next episode? Feel free to reach out to us at podcasts@lovestoriestv.com.